Got some Penn State recruiting talk to get to here, as Penn State unfortunately missed out on Kemon Spell. And as always, when we have some Penn State recruiting talk, bring in our guy Chris to talk through what exactly is going on with Penn State recruiting. So we're going to talk through Kemon Spell, some different options here, and then also some other guys in recruiting that Chris wants to hit on. So Chris, I'm going to turn it straight over to you, man. What's going on in this Kemon Spell situation?
Oh, it's a bit of a roller coaster. This one really hurts. Wasn't expecting this one. And so basically, what happened was about a month back, word got out from what I was told and what was being reported by some insiders. Kemon Spell was looking to reclassify to the year 2026. And I think because of like the way the state education laws are, or whatever, being from Pennsylvania, I don't know if he would have been graduating early or graduating and then going to college. But basically, what was supposed to happen, the plan was for him to reclassify to 2026 and go to Penn State. That was the plan. And I don't think he could, like I said, because of the state education laws, I don't think he was able to reclassify in his particular situation. I'm not saying other players, like when Quinn Ewers from Texas went to Ohio State early, but I think Kemon Spell's situation, he was only able to reclassify to a in-state school like Penn State, since he's from Pennsylvania. For whatever, they tried to push that through. For whatever reason, it did not go through. Now, even though it didn't go through when expected, a lot of us, including insiders, thought that maybe he has to take more credits or whatever the situation is in high school, but maybe just finish out in high school his junior year, then reclassify to 26 and start taking credits at Penn State and doing what he has to do, and probably come around the summertime. That did not happen, and today he unfortunately committed to Georgia. Now, Penn State wasn't expecting this. They knew he liked Georgia, but they weren't. And in fact, I think Spell himself said, I'm not expecting to commit down there when I get down there right afterwards. He's going to play it out a little bit. But he has a new agency called Rock Nation. And once these agents get involved and certain people from his camp, I'm under the belief that people just got in his ear. And I'm not saying he doesn't like Georgia himself. Look, they're a great school. It is what it is. But I just think people got in his ear, were really pushing the SEC, pushing Georgia. And I just think he, from the, not pressure, but from enough people influencing him, I think he pulled the trigger. I don't think this is the end of it. It could be, but I do think if Penn State shows out on the field next year and they keep pushing, I think there is a chance they could flip him. But this whole thing came down to the reclassification. If he reclassified, he was Penn State's. If he didn't reclassify, it was going to be up in the air and lean Georgia. Now, the interesting thing why I continue to feel confident in Spell is like two of the main insiders, Steve Weltfong and Brian Doan for On3 and 24/7. Spell even told Weltfong that he likes Penn State, but they're still not ahead of Georgia. Even with him telling insiders that Georgia's still ahead of Penn State, they still put crystal balls and picks in for Spell to go to Georgia. They still put picks in for him. So I still felt confident that down the road, maybe the reclassification, something was going to go through and didn't happen. And here we are. And it sucks because the kid's a great talent. I think he's, like I said before, probably the best running back prospect Penn State would have had since Saquon Barkley. Now, my issue, okay, and I'm not saying this is horrible. I might be jumping the gun a little early here, but I kind of had a feeling about this, and I mentioned it during the transfer portal. I think Matt Campbell and his staff, coming from a smaller school, not having money, having to be cheap and go out and find under the radar guys, what their recruiting approach is like they had these junior days, and I mentioned this before. Junior days under Franklin, and I'm glad Franklin's gone, don't get me wrong, but junior days under Franklin, and I think all top colleges do this, they'll invite a large number of recruits. Every top recruit in the region, at least, and then other recruits that are interested outside the region, they would all come. Like, you want guys to come, your top targets especially, you want them all to come. You want them to visit. But the way Campbell does it is different. So instead of having 30 recruits there, he might only have 10 recruits, because the whole theory behind that is it's more formal, less people, you get to spend more one-on-one time. I think that could backfire, because this is what they're doing, and Spell's a perfect example of this. Is, for the longest time under Franklin, and just for this 27 recruiting class, the number 2 running back in our recruiting region after Spell, the Plan B guy, was Isaiah Rogers, and you could pull him up. Isaiah Rogers is a consensus 4-star running back. Penn State and Franklin, they're making inroads. You can see his ranking. He's a consensus 4-star. He's a very good, solid running back. He's a top 10 running back. But here's what I mean. I just don't think Campbell has good Plan B, Plan C guys when the few top guys at each position don't pan out. Because instead of, and you see the guys ranking, and if you guys want to watch the film, you can watch film. His film checks out. But instead of going after an Isaiah Rogers, instead they're trying to flip some little 3-star Jarvis Warner from Cincinnati. And you can see Jarvis Warner here as he pulls it up. So, you're going from, and look, I know the star ratings aren't rocket scientists, but the higher up guys pan out more than, on average, the lower guys. There's a lot more lower guys. So, yeah, by numbers, if you have 300 3-stars compared to 54 stars, 300 3-stars might pan out. But the point I'm making is, why are they not going after Isaiah Rogers like the last class did? Or, excuse me, the last staff. So that's my concern. And you don't have to pull this guy up. I didn't mention him, but they're also going after a guy named Kelvin Morrison. Kelvin Morrison, I think, is very under the radar. He's another running back from Hermitage, PA, which is out in western PA. It's right on the border of Ohio. And this guy could fly. He's a burner, but he's not even ranked by On3. Like, he doesn't even have a ranking. Now, he will have a ranking, be ranked by all of them. And I think he could be a borderline 4-star. And if you get a chance and watch his film, the guy he's explosive. He's 5'11", 185. He's going to have to add strength, add mass. But when he plants his foot and accelerates, he's as fast as any running back out there. He's just as fast as Spell. Not as good as Spell, but I would put his speed right up there. But my point is, like, why is this staff not going after good Plan B guys? Okay. Give you another, for instance. Okay. Terrence Smith, a top in-state lineman. All right. Terrence Smith is listed as an interior lineman. I thought, I could be wrong on this. He's 6'6". He's built long. He's built more like an offensive tackle. I was under the impression, and I think he played offensive tackle in high school. I was under the impression, at least with Franklin, that he was going to be he was going to be recruited as an offensive tackle. They didn't go after him. Like, why would you not go after every single top guy in state? I'm not, like, these aren't slouches. Like, these are 4-star guys. Are they all going to pan out? No, it never happens. But they didn't even make a big push for this Terrence Smith. Terrence Smith just dropped his final list. I don't know if it was 8 teams or so. Didn't even include Penn State. He didn't include Penn State because they didn't push for him. Rutgers made a final list for a top in-state lineman, but Penn State did not. So I just don't understand. Now, if he's an interior guy, I could understand, because we have a lot of good interior prospects. But if they're recruiting him to play tackle, like I believe the old staff was, why do you not push for this guy? Like, I just don't understand why you don't push for this guy. So the other thing I'm going to mention along these lines, okay, edge rusher, defensive end. This is the best defensive end class in our region. When I say our region, I'm talking PA, New England section, all through the DMV, through Maryland, Delaware, DC, Virginia. That's Penn State's main recruiting region where we've always done well. There are five top edge rushers, all very highly ranked. Couple of them borderline 5 stars. I think 1 or 2 of them are 5-star. You got James Pace from the Matha Catholic. Okay, you have Mekhi Brown, who loved the old staff. You have Mekhi Brown from Massachusetts. You have Abraham Sessi from Downingtown, PA, who, similar to Mekhi Brown, big, long, fluid, pretty good get off, a lot of upside as a pass rusher. So you have Sessi, you have Pace, you have Brown, but then I think the 2 best guys they had, and I've seen these guys from a year ago, Anthony Sweeney, who's from Maryland, and Chris Whitehead from Virginia, if you want to bring up Whitehead. So, or you could bring up Sweeney first, then Whitehead. It doesn't matter which. Now, this, again, falls along the lines of what I was saying. You want to recruit, you want to land at least 2 top edge rushers. You're Penn State, you're a big-time program. You don't go after just 1 top edge rusher. It's a premium position, and then go get developmental guys. All right, is this first guy Sweeney? Is that Sweeney?
Yeah, that's Sweeney.
Okay, so here, Anthony Sweeney. They offered, but they hardly pushed for him. This is a kid right in their backyard. He's right in their backyard in Maryland. Hotbed of recruiting for Penn State. The kid's an absolute stud. I think he's a 5-star in one of the rankings. If not, he's close. And, I mean, tall, again, 6'4", 230-ish range. I mean, he's explosive off the ball. He's twitched up. And this is another recruit they didn't push hard for, and therefore he was kept off their list. So, again, he had a final list of I don't know how many schools, 8 schools, 10 schools. Penn State didn't make the cut. They didn't make the cut. Chris Whitehead in the same realm, if you want to pull up Whitehead. Virginia kid. Now, I know with the old staff, they really like this kid, and they're making a push for this kid. You see this kid's ranking. He's very similar to Sweeney, probably more aggressive. He's got 6'4" size, good length, and he's got a burst. He's got a twitch. He plays well with his, not great with his hands, but he plays well with his hands. Like, he has everything you need in a high school edge rusher to become elite, to get coached up and become elite. This new staff didn't even offer him yet. They did. I don't understand why they didn't offer him. So who they did offer and are going after pretty hard is James Pace, Abraham Sessi, and Mekhi Brown. I know they're going after those guys. Now, if you want to land at least 2, even 3, but just give me 2 to the top edge rushers, is it better to go hard after 3 edge rushers? If you want to land 2 to the top, is it better to go after 3 of them or 5 of them? It's better to go after 5 of them. You're not going to be able to afford them all because you're not going to get them all. But why not go after all 5 of them and let the chips fall where they fall? So it's just a different recruiting pitch of how they're going about things. And we'll see how it all pans out. But I have a funny feeling that I do think Matt Campbell is going to be a better coach than James Franklin. That's not hard to do. I do think he will be a lot better in big games and give us a better chance at getting us over the hump. I'm not sure he's going to be a better recruiter. I know Penn State fans won't like me saying that, and I know they want everything positive, positive, positive. Well, listen, I just call a spade a spade. I'm realistic. I don't know, like James Franklin's recruiting classes at Penn State, if you go the first couple classes when he was there, they're still overcoming the sanctions, and they're more so probably Bill O'Brien's class. But if you go 2016 right up to 2025, he averaged, if you took an average of all those recruiting classes, he probably averaged around 12, about 13th 13th ranked. I don't know if Campbell's going to do this. Like, for example, quarterback, I touched on Israel Abrams. Israel Abrams is the number 3 dual threat quarterback in the country. He loved Iowa State. Iowa State, when Campbell was there, was the leader. Okay. And everybody thought, and he was going to go he would have committed to Iowa State. Everybody thought when Campbell comes over, everybody's asking, why haven't they offered Abrams? Why haven't they offered Abrams? They still haven't offered him. So reason being, they have a couple other quarterbacks they like ahead of this Israel Abrams. They're going after Peter Bork and Will Mentzel. Peter Bork, I think Peter Bork for Penn State is the best looking quarterback prospect that maybe they would ever get if they get him or recruit. I think Peter Bork is better than Drew Aller as a prospect because Drew looked good as a prospect. I think Peter Bork has more upside than Ethan Grunkenmeyer, and I love Grunkenmeyer. And I think this guy throws a beautiful deep ball. He's mobile. He's got immense arm talent. He's got great size. I think he showed out recently at an all-star game where he played great. So they're trying to flip Peter Bork from Michigan. My understanding is we are in a very good spot. Penn State's in a good spot to try to flip Peter Bork, but then you read other things where he's really starting to build a good relationship and reaffirming his commitment with Kyle Whittingham in Michigan with their new staff, who he's already committed to. He committed to Michigan under what's his face, when the last coach was there. But yeah, so we'll see what happens there. The other quarterback they're going after is Will Mentzel, and you spell his last name Mencl. Will Mentzel. So Will Mentzel is from Arizona. Will Mentzel is similar. I don't think he's quite as good as Peter Bork, but he is similar in a big drop back passer. He's got to be like 6'4", in the 215, 220 range. Big, strong arm kid, a lot of arm talent, pretty mobile. Not what you call a dual threat, but he could run. He decent mobility. So what happens, because it's somewhat of a long shot that they're going to flip Bork. Then you have this Will Mentzel on the other side of the country in Arizona. Now, I did not know this, and I don't know what the connection is, but Taylor Mauser, our offensive coordinator, has strong connections to Arizona, okay, which is going to help a lot. This Will Mentzel has offers from Oregon. I think he has offers from Auburn. He has some nice offers. Are we going to out-recruit and outspend Oregon for this kid? Oregon's on the West Coast, just like Arizona, even though they're nowhere near each other. Is this kid going to come all the way over to the other side of the corner of the country? I hope he does, but, probably take less NIL than what Oregon would offer. Is he going to do that? So if you're not offering Israel Abrams because you like these other two guys, what happens if you don't hit on either two of these quarterbacks? Now you're left holding the bag. What do they do? So I just think I know Matt Campbell is a grinder. I know he's a football guy. The word on him is you don't even see him. You don't see him on camera. You never see him. Besides his intro press conference, you hardly see him. And people are loving his work ethic. There was someone mentioned this one guy who was very in the know, said that this is the first time, the closest it's felt to an old Joe Paterno style football team, just building a good blue collar culture and just being and just a tough football team, blue collar culture, accountability, and they're just putting their nose to the grindstone and just grinding away. So that's good. I do, as far as an X's and O's coach, as far as a game day coach, preparation, I do think Matt Campbell and his staff will do a very good job. I just think, and I said it weeks ago, a month ago, I just think there's going to be a bit of a learning curve recruiting at this level. I mean, unfortunately, what NIL, he has a little bit of Franklin in him where he wants to be cheap, I think. Now, Spell had nothing to do with being cheap. They gave Spell everything he wanted. I was told by a couple sources, one guy who was very legitimate, that they exactly what Spell and his family wanted, they gave him. So they weren't cheap with Spell. That was not an NIL situation. I could tell you that. All the I don't know the exact offers, but they gave him what he wanted, and all the offers, NIL offers, were close. But, I have read things about Campbell where he's not used to having this type of money. And, in his intro press conference, he said something along the lines of, money is going to be a component, but it's not going to be the number one thing. And that always gives me a little red flag. Like, listen, everybody likes to use the two words, fit and culture. Fit and culture. That's great. I understand fit is important. And I understand building a good culture is important. And you want guys that are going to work hard. You want the blue collar guys that are going to be there. But you still got to go acquire the best talent you can. I mean, today's college football is about talent acquisition. You go out and you get the best available talent you can. And I'm not going to get into the whole spiel again, but one of my biggest pet peeves with college football fans, and they're all like this, is they all assume if there's like that Anthony Sweeney is a top edge rusher. He could absolutely command a lot of NIL. There's always this assumption that if a kid wants NIL and he's going for big NIL, that somehow he's not a blue collar kid. He's not going to work out. He's not going to give his all, or he's going to be a bad teammate, not be a good fit. And that's total bullshit. Have there been some that didn't work out were like that? Yeah. But the majority of them are still balling out because, listen, NIL deals are usually just 1 year. So you sign a kid to an incoming freshman to a 1 year NIL deal, you best believe that kid's going to want another big NIL deal. Some are multiple years, but most are one. Because you bring a kid in that doesn't work out, well, that protects you and that protects the school to not have to continue to pay him. Then the kid could go portal. But my point being is, just because a kid wants a big NIL deal doesn't mean he's a bad kid, doesn't mean he's a bad fit. But I just think there's going to be a learning curve a little bit with Campbell, as far as just, you got to go out and spend. You got to target every single top. You should be targeting every top guy in your recruiting region, and you got to go hard after him. I mean, that's what big boy recruiting is. And when he just targets select few guys at each position, okay, wide receiver, here's the 3-4 guys we like. Running back, here's the top 3 guys we like. You have to, when those guys don't pan out, I think he goes back to Iowa State mode. Instead of going after an Isaiah Rodgers per se, he then goes to Iowa State mode of, where do I find this under the radar guy that I could coach up? So they go after a 5'8" running little 3-star at Cincinnati that committed to Cincinnati. You see where I'm going with this? So, just want to touch base with that, let people know what happened with the Kemon Spell situation. I don't think the Kemon Spell situation is completely over. Time will tell. And I just hope Campbell adjusts a little more, bringing in more top guys, offering more top guys, and, isn't afraid to spend NIL like every other top program. That's all. That's pretty much what I want to say.
A lot of great information there, Chris, and I think that you make a lot of good points about the coaching staff and things that they need to do and work on and stuff like that. So great stuff here from Chris. Appreciate you coming on here, and everybody, Penn State fans, anybody else listening to this. We'll see how Penn State continues to evolve and get better. But that's your Penn State recruiting update with a lot of good names to know and a lot of good guys to be on the lookout for. So thanks, Chris. Thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Have a good night, everybody.